So I would consider myself primarily a single-player gamer. I've never really been into multiplayer games my entire life. I find single-player games just so well-crafted, deep, and rewarding, and I can experience them at my own leisure that I really never dipped my toe much into the multiplayer side of gaming. The few multiplayer games I have played with any regularity and time investment were stuff like Smash Brothers and Yu-Gi-Oh! But these have been particular exceptions. But recently, I got the itch to play Fortnite Battle Royale again after a short stint of playing the game for a few weeks back in 2018. And after I saw that Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy got added to the game as a skin, I decided to go all in on playing Fortnite for a bit. So in this video, I want to talk a lot about my observations that I have made about Fortnite. As someone who is very unfamiliar with modern live service multiplayer games in general, and Fortnite in particular. The first thing I noticed about Fortnite is how overwhelming the sheer volume of content in the game is. Firstly, there's Fortnite's primary core engagement system, which I was already familiar with. Stuff like the Battle Pass, skins, different types of daily quests, weekly quests, season-long quests, etc. But then there was all of this other stuff added on top of it. Primarily was all of the South Park stuff at the time, which had its own separate progression and separate quests from the regular quests in Fortnite. Add on top of that Fortnite does almost daily updates to its game. Daily. Not weekly, which already would be an insane pace for a live service game, but nope, daily updates. For example, the cosmetics related to The Office, the sitcom, and the Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy cosmetics dropped within like a day of each other. Any other live service games, those would have been spaced out by like at least a week. And that's not even getting into any of the other game modes like Fortnite OG, the music stuff, any of the Lego side of the game, each of which have their own battle passes, which then really expands the amount of stuff that you can get. I think an interesting comparison, at least for me, is the game that I had the most live service experience with prior to my current Fortnite binge, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Master Duel, being a free-to-play game available on every platform, does go for a similar monetization strategy as Fortnite. It has cosmetics for almost any aspect of your play field, allowing you to customize and tweak every little thing to your heart's content. It has a pass with certain cosmetics timed to it uniquely, certain timed events that happen on a semi-regular basis, and new card releases every month. However, the speed at which Master Duel updates and releases new stuff with monthly card drops, which is based on a real physical card game that has releases once every, 3-ish weeks, still feels glacially slow in comparison to the speed at which Fortnite moves. Another thing that makes it feel like Fortnite is moving extremely fast is not just how fast it puts out stuff, but the actual window of time that you're able to buy this stuff. My Ed skin was only available for a week at most before being replaced by the regular show stuff in the shop. Meaning, I'm 99% certain that it actually took longer to model and make all of the Ed content than he was actually available for sale for. Obviously, a lot of the reason Fortnite moves this fast is to keep its existing player base satiated. But it also does this as a way to get people into the game that might not have before until their favorite character / IP has gotten in as a skin, and kind of sets a ticking clock for fear of missing out. And you know what? It worked on me. But none of this directly affects the gameplay, which is what truly matters here. What do I think of the gameplay? Now, specifically, I only played Battle Royale because, to be honest, I'm not really particularly interested in any of the other modes. I really do appreciate the gameplay loop of Battle Royale quite a bit. There's a lot of interesting nuance and sort of like micro tension sort of built into the battles. The basic idea of the playable area shrinking and everyone having to kill each other until there's one victory royale winner is obviously pretty simple. But there's a really cool element of power creep that goes on within a match as well that makes every match just feel a little different. At the beginning of a match, everyone is just scrambling to find basic gear to use so they can kill other players first and get the upper hand. And as you progress, you pick up more and more powerful gear from the players that you kill, sort of consolidating the best of the best gear alongside the most skilled best players. The guns in general also feel good in my opinion. The only ones that I really don't like in terms of game feel are the long guns without a scope on them. They just feel terrible, and the recoil on them has just never felt particularly right to me. They just don't feel like they do a lot of damage or that they hit anything particularly well. I always preferred a scoped rifle without one. My favorite weapons to use in a match are the scoped long guns, the dual mini shotguns, and then the sniper rifle. Although I feel like I'm getting to a point in my gameplay experience that I feel like the sniper rifle is nowhere near as useful as it was earlier. That I feel like players move in such odd ways, and I'm having to fire at like such long distances to get targets, and I can't really properly account for the bullet drop. And it feels like the sniper rifle is just kind of useless at a certain point. If I practice with a sniper rifle, surely I would get better at this, and maybe it would become a useful weapon again. The one thing that I will flat out admit I am not good at in this game at all is building. I haven't even attempted to do any building at this point, just so I can focus on getting my gunplay skills up to snuff instead, because I think it's a little bit more important in a battle royale to be able to kill the other players. And pretty much all of the building that I have seen so far from other players is pretty much like one of two types of encounters, like without fail. It's either create a wall to protect themselves while they heal from incoming fire, or as a way to like gain height so I have an upper hand in a combat encounter, since being above the other player is really, really good. Like, that's it. That's the only uses of buildings I have seen. I haven't seen anything else particularly interesting or creative. I also find that the skill-based matchmaking has been a very pleasant experience, in my opinion. The difficulty curve, at least for my skill level, feels so well-tuned that I'd almost compare it to like a single-player game. I have heard bad things about skill-based matchmaking in other games, that it can be just out of whack and violently ping-pong you around between groups of players, too easy or too hard for your skill level based off of a single match win or loss. But I really haven't had that experience with Fortnite yet. I mean, it also probably helps that Fortnite has such a large volume of players that the algorithm can afford to like fine tune it super precisely to be that gradual. Now, you may look at this footage and it looks a bit off to you. I am playing the PC version here, but my movement obviously shows I'm not using a keyboard and mouse, but I'm not using a regular dual analog control scheme either. And that's because I am using a controller with the flick stick control style. I have heard good things about flick stick in passing, and I do like motion controls in the games that I have played with it. So I decided to use it on a game that I'm starting to relearn from square one anyways. And wow, I am so glad that I spent the time and energy to learn it. Instead of its traditional dual analog stick control scheme where you use the second analog stick to aim up and down, you're actually using the motion controls built into the controller itself to aim vertically and horizontally, and the second stick will force your camera to turn in the direction that you have pointed. Combined with a gyro control reset button, this makes for an aiming experience unlike anything else that I have used on a controller before, and even something almost unlike using a mouse and keyboard. I can make some pretty crazy 180-degree turns in midair, which is awesome. I also want to talk about the game's graphics a little bit. I have always really liked the Fortnite art style, even going back to its Unreal Engine 4 days. But since the switch to Unreal Engine 5, the art style has gone to a whole new level of beautiful. With Midnight On and all the settings set to max, the environments look really lush and beautiful. The shadows and lighting look incredible for a multiplayer game. It almost feels like a single player game. However, despite me obviously not playing the game on like the competitive performance mode, and I do like a little bit of eye candy, I do think that Nanite On is too much of a performance hog to really justify the visuals that it's outputting. On my PC, I'm running a 9070 XT GPU from AMD, and so with some settings tweaks like medium settings, nanite off, and XeSS 58% upscaling, I can run this game at like 4K, 120 FPS locked in DX12 mode. It not only makes the game look really good, but I can also easily spot players outrunning in the distance way easier due to having 4K. I guess I'm not that serious at Fortnite because I could just lower the resolution and get way more frames, but my display doesn't support anything above 120 FPS, and I play way better at locked frame rates compared to an unsteady, uncapped frame rate. My only gripe with the graphics settings menu is that there's no AMD FSR upscaling support whatsoever, which is insane because this game has access to both Intel XeSS and DLSS. So just add the third brand-specific upscaler. Okay, so I've sung this game's praises, but what don't I like about Fortnite? The main thing is the South Park stuff, at least when I was playing, which the South Park cosmetics, stuff like the boys or Towley or your back bling are fine in and of themselves, but the actual Cartman land and the whole stick of truth mechanic is obnoxious, in my opinion. Getting the stick of truth and causing the Steindl storm early, I imagine, is a fun mix-up for people who have played the game for many years. But for me, it just totally ruins the pacing of a match for me. Instead of working your way down to single-digit competitors in a tiny space for that last stretch of the match, you now have about 20 to 25 players all bum-rushing the center way earlier, causing a sort of chaos that to me really does not work gameplay-wise. That it just feels like I'm getting ambushed on all sides by tons of other players. Also, there's Cartman Land. What is even the point of this place? It's not an interesting place to have firefights. I would prefer literally anywhere else on the map. And I don't find it particularly fun to, explore. It's just a theme park, and it tries to be cute about it. Oh, look at how we incorporate these theme park mechanics into Fortnite, haha. But, you didn't necessarily need South Park to do that. Is there some, joke that's going over my head that I'm supposed to find really funny about Cartman Land that justifies its existence? Overall, I have been enjoying my time with Fortnite, and it has been a nice change of pace from the single-player games that I usually play, but I feel like the novelty has worn out pretty fast for me. I have gone from, level 0 to, level 71 in the Battle Pass in a couple of weeks. It's been a fun experience, and I do like playing against better and better players and feeling my own skill and getting better myself, and I do admit there is a ton of depth to the gameplay like there is for any multiplayer shooter, but I don't know. I feel like I've had most of my fill already. So anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Did you guys like this video? Hit like. Leave your comments down below. Are you a regular Fortnite player? Leave a comment. Tell me anything that I may have missed, any sort of nuances, things like that. Subscribe if you're interested in seeing more content like this from me in the future. Hit up my Patreon down in the description. Give me some of that cash money. Help me make these videos a little better, sustain the YouTube channel going forward. Anyways, guys, that's it, and have a good day.